If you look at a graph of sales of comics within the last 5 years, it's going to have crazy ups and downs, especially with Marvel books. It's probably going to look like the Alps. Well, I wanted to know what are the comics that have been completely consistent over the last 5 or so years. And since there were no articles on this subject before, I blew an entire weekend doing individual personal research to find it for you. These are the books where if it was $200 back in 2018, it's pretty close to or exactly the same now. Go ahead and like and comment down below what are some that you've noticed have been extremely consistent where, as long as you can think of, the same price has been the price for that book, even despite the COVID boom and despite the current market slowdown. Full disclosure, there are no Marvel entries on this list. Guys, I tried. I probably put 3 hours into individually looking at every key I could think of, and there has been almost no consistency. There's been a few where it's the same price now as it was in 2018, but it was rocky in between. We're not looking at that. We're looking at consistency here. Let's get it started with Sword of Azrael, #1 from 1992. It's the first appearance of Azrael, and it has been, as long as I can remember, like a $120, $125 book. Even back in June of 2013, sales were at around $130. Well, in January of 2023, they are still at $130. Not lower, not higher, still in that same pocket. That is one darn consistent book. Next up is Justice League of America, issue 64 from 1968. We're talking about a CGC graded 9.4 here, since that's the most prominently graded copy on the census. This is the first Silver Age appearance of Red Tornado, which is very consistently a $475 to $450 book. In August of 2012, the sales reflected that of around $450. Right now, they're at $475, just a little nice, small, natural bump up, which is what you would want to see in a consistent book. Next up is Batman and Robin Adventures 21 from 1997 in a 9.8, a very consistent book here. It's a classic Batgirl cover, and you're going to see a lot of classic covers end up being very consistent. 9.8 is about a $170 book. Well, in 2018, they were sitting at $160 as the average, and we got a January 2023 sale of $178. Very consistent. Speaking of classic covers, we got 51 from 2006. Again, we're talking about a 9.8 graded classic Adams Hughes cover. One that I've personally owned, one that I have gotten and obtained a 9.8 of. It's a great one. This has been a $350 book since I first started buying slabs. That's right, in 2016, it was about $326 as the average going price. The January 2023 sales sit around $350. That's that nice, steady rate that you want to see. How about Firestorm? Nuclear Man #1 from 1978, first appearance of Firestorm. We're not talking about a 9.8, but rather the 9.6, which is the most consistently graded one and the most prevalent grade that you see for that book. Well, it's about a $200 9.6, and it has been for almost 10 years. September of 2014, average prices sat around $195, whereas right now, they're looking at $200. Again, another very natural rate. How about the first appearance of Kyle Rayner with Green Lantern Volume 3, issue 48? I believe that's 1994. In February of 2015, it was a $125 book, whereas right now it sits a little bit more like $120. Still, that's right about what it was 5, 6, 7 years ago. How about Aquaman 11 from 1963? We're talking about a 6.5, which is the most commonly graded for that, and also the most prevalent and most consistent grade. It's the first appearance of Mera. It's about $650. Back in 2016, the average prices was about $620, and we got January 2023 sales at around $660. Detective Comics issue 608 from 1989. We're talking about a 9.8 graded right here. It's the first appearance of Anarchy, and this has been a just over $100 book forever. $115 is the going rate typically. In 2015, it was $115 average. January of 2023, you still see it go for $120. That's consistency. Next up is Batman issue 608 from 2002, not to be confused with Detective Comics 608. I did put those together on purpose. It's the first Hush storyline. We're talking about the 9.8 here. And it's been like an $80, $85 book for quite some time. In 2013, the going price was about $85 to $89. Right now, it's about a $90 book, which makes sense. That's a very natural place for that book to be. Legends from 1986 is the first appearance of Amanda Waller. Again, we're going to talk about the 9.8. This is about a $130 book, and it is very consistent because in 2015, it was about $129 as the average. January of 2023, we got about $135. If you look at a graph, it's very consistent. It stays about the same. Detective Comics issue 474 from 1977. It's a tricky 9.8 to get, but we are going to talk about it because there are a number on the census, and it is a very consistent grade. It is a classic Deadshot cover. Not a first appearance or anything, but it is a steady $450. Has been for some time. January of 2015 said that it was about $412, whereas in January of 2023, you got about $472. Wonder Woman issue 90 from 1994, which is the first appearance of Artemis. Talking about the 9.8 here, has been a $125 book since about 2014. Back in 2017, you saw average sales at about $120. In January of 2023, it still is about that $120 to $125. Next up is Green Lantern issue 141 from 1981, and despite being a little bit of an underrated key, it is consistent. We're talking about the 9.6, not the 9.8, the first appearance of the Omega Men. And this has been a $150 9.6 since the last 6 years. October 2017 put it at $150, whereas in January of 2023, it went for $155. Consistency, baby. How about Robin #1? We're talking about the Brian Boland cover here. Gorgeous cover, 9.8, the first Robin's solo title, and this has been like a $70 book since the start. June of 2016 had averages of about $65, and right now the most recent sale was at $80. So that's what you want to see. Justice League of America issue from 1963. The 7.5 is the most graded of this book. It is the first appearance of Earth 1, first mention, I think, of Earth 1, first Justice League meets the JSA. It's a number of things. It's about a $500 to $550 book in that grade. And in November of 2015, it was $501, whereas in January of 2023, it's about $560. It's nice to see even consistency with Silver Age stuff. How about Power Girl 27, another classic cover. This is a classic Lau cover. Talking about the 9.8 here is about a $425 book and has been for some time. October of 2018, we have sales at around $400, whereas right now, we got sales at $450. Very consistent with a slight natural uptick for that one. Superman 82, I am talking about the Chrome version. I believe that's from 1992. Talking about the 9.8, it's the death of Cyborg Superman, and just a classic story. It's the culmination of that arc that was going on at the time, and it has been a $120 book for almost a decade. In December of 2018, we have average sales at around $104, and in January of 2023, we got it at $128. Very nice, natural progression for that book to be at. Next up is Detective Comics issue 647 from 1992. It's the first appearance of Stephanie Brown, and we're talking about the 9.8, despite that grade being a little bit elusive. Kind of hard to get. About $150, and has been since 2016, where we see the averages at $130, whereas right now we got recent sales at $165. If you calculate for a little bit of inflation, it ends up being pretty dead even. DC Comics presents issue 27 from 1980. In a 9.8 is the first appearance of Mongol, and a 9.8 is $500. Back in 17, it was $490 as the average, whereas in January of 2023, we just saw it go for $520. Very consistent book there, and a little bit of an underrated situation going on there. And I'm going to end the list with the first appearance of the Black Mask with Batman 386 from 1985. Talking about, once again, the 9.8. Despite it being from 85, the most commonly graded for that book is a 9.8. And this has been a $300 or just over $300 book for quite some time. In 2016, you would sell this and buy this for 320 bucks. And we got January 2023 fair market value sitting at 320 bucks. Nothing like that sweet, sweet consistency, man. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed the list. I have to say, a considerable amount of research went into this because this particular niche topic hasn't been done before. I had to plug in every book I could possibly think of. It took basically the entire weekend, and I had to look up a lot of stuff. And Marvel wasn't on the list because there was no consistency with Marvel. Stuff went up, stuff went down. Even a lot of DC stuff went up and down. So I'm glad I was able to find a good 20. I think I'm going to call the video a top 10, but I gave you 20 comics that really ride that consistency wavelength right there. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you for the next video tomorrow. Keep on hunting.